Hi, guys. Welcome to our second Creator Roundtable for the day. Um, Sorry for the late start. We had a couple technical difficulties, all my fault. Apologies. Not sure if we should be, but hopefully, yeah, people are here. Drizzle drops for you. Hi. Okay, so hi everybody. We're gonna get started. I'm gonna introduce you to our wonderful cast of characters for this evening's roundtable. We have Crayons.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey. And we have Matt from the Lonely Listeners.
What up? What up?
And we have Props from Daps and Daps Collective, Daps Radio, all
Yo,
of
yo,
the
yo,
things.
yo.
So guys, hi, how are you? How's it been going?
Doing
Good.
well.
Enjoy life.
Yeah.
Awesome,
Mhm.
awesome, awesome. So this is my second creator roundtable for the day. And I I've decided to start with the same kind of line of questioning. And so the first question is like, kind of, what is your origin story? Like, what's your background that has gotten you to this place? Crayons, I probably spend the most time with you, but actually know the least about your backstory. So why don't you start?
All right, cool. Okay, so I'm originally from like this really, really small town, population like 762 people, something like that. It's in Orangeburg County in South Carolina. I'm still in South Carolina. I'm just that fucking small town. Uh, I've been always just drawing my entire life. Uh, I think from the age like 7 or 8 or something like that. They could tell I kind of had talent, so they kind of just steered me towards that. And I just kind of went from, I guess, around like eighth or ninth grade, something like that. I started winning awards, and I got into the School of the Arts and moved to Charleston. And yeah, just I just have like that classical art background. Um, but at the same time, I kind of think going to college, since I didn't have like much money growing up, my mom did work at the Art Institute of Charleston. And so, rest in peace, by the way, that school no longer exists. They got sued. The whole like parent company that owned that school got sued. And so if you look it up now, like I don't think there is a AI of Charleston anymore, but it is what it is. Um, my mom got like the job there. I got 2 out of 3 years paid for that school. Like that was like I didn't have any scholarships for anything. I was like I had one school I was going to. It was there. And because like by the time I was like 18, I was selling art in galleries. So actually here I can show you one a couple examples. This is cool because it's a visual medium, so I can actually show you guys some stuff. Oh, this here is colored pencil. This was done when I was
Nice.
about 17 years old.
Oh,
Just to give you guys like
wow.
an example of kind of like what my background is with fine art. Um, I've done some work for like people, but I kind of honestly like these days I spend a lot of my time doing UI and UX design because I'm trying to make a buck. You know what I mean? And fine art just never paid well. I think like a lot of artists, I got lured here into this space thinking, I can make a little extra money, royalties might add up. Yeah, right. Uh, I don't know. I just kind of have I think a really basic origin story. I think that I'm blessed in that my mother just like recognized talent in me and just poured all her effort into like getting me in the right classes. And my colored pencils were super expensive. Like I don't really, I just had that, and I just kept going that way, and now I just really do design.
Mm. I don't
I
I
still
don't know
draw.
that that's a basic origin story. I wouldn't describe it as that, but I think it's
Well,
really
I love
interesting.
hearing all the guys who are like self-taught and stuff, but like I just went to school for art and I was just
Yeah.
good for it, you know.
I mean, but I do think that you can go to school for art and still be a terrible artist, right?
That's a
Like
fact. I
I
definitely was
went
like
to
one of the better ones, I would say.
yeah,
But
I went to school for filmmaking, and like there were some pretty terrible filmmakers at the end of that program.
yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
there were some pretty bad ones at the art institute as well, photographers too, but it is what it is. I don't consider myself a very great designer. I consider myself a quite average designer. Um, but I think that the way that I design lends itself to the way that I create art. And that's usually like with processes. And I'm a very technical artist and creator. So that's kind of my backstory.
Nice.
Yeah.
And Matt, tell us about your backstory.
Yeah, I mean, we go right to the beginning. Parents had me out of wedlock. From there, it's funny, but it does tie into kind of everything that has kind of led up to where I am now. But, you know, uh, I had a very estranged family as a kid. And naturally, as I reconnected with my siblings, first my older brother, found out he was a musician, found out he was super into music at the time. Like my background was kind of in marketing and sales, and thinking to myself as a young cocky kid, like, yo, I'll just be your manager, man. Like I know business, right? I know marketing and sales. And that kind of led me down this really weird path of discovering just like how weird the music industry is, and how difficult and like literally like pulling teeth it is to really get traction. And from there, the last probably 6 or 7 years of my life has just been dedicated towards trying to prop up artists, support them, give them a more promising future. Like everything that I've done in Web3 is built around trying to build a better creator economy, and kind of like, like you just mentioned, a lot of people went into this space kind of like with the idea of like, wow, like this could be a more promising future. And I think that it still is. I think it's going to take some time, and it needs more like-minded people like us in this room right now to really meld it together and form it and make it happen. But yeah, in short, that's kind of the gist.
100%. And I also, I'm older. So I was a part of the .com boom and crash, which was pretty fast and quick. And I kind of feel like the companies that stuck around during the crash are like the companies that are now on the S&P 500. So I feel very strongly that if we all kind of stick around and just persevere and hang out in this like super bear that we're going through, like we're going to be the S&P 500 of Web3 someday, you know what I'm saying? And
Love it.
as I always say, I feel like right now is the time that we can afford to fail several times. And not that we want to, but we can afford to, which is a real gift if you think about it.
Yeah, I
So
think
prop. Oh, go ahead.
being able to afford to fail means you really should be trying a lot of things. Honestly,
Yep, exactly.
that's
Trying a lot
Um,
of things. I know that Matt and props are the kings of pivoting through their project. I know that you're a king of pivoting as well, Crayons, because you're trying all different kinds of things with Crayon DAO. So yeah, and that's kind of making the most of this time, in my opinion, at least. Props, tell us about yourself.
First, I just want to say, CrayHans, thanks for shattering my dreams and hopes of going to art school. How you just made it seem so basic, where they kicked me out of art school because I didn't have the money to be in there to complete my analysis form to show how dope I could draw. So I just want to say that's actually a big thing, bro. There's nothing basic about that, and I love that how you lower expectations and you're a humble guy, but you kill it, bro. And I just want to say I'm a big fan of you. Matt, your story is dope as well, bro. The universe always has us in the right place, man. And I'm looking forward to hear more about what you got going on. And V Piff, we need to learn about your story, so we're gonna have to get you on Daps Radio. But
Hey, I'm
just a
ready.
little bit.
I'm ready.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Yep.
I monologue a lot, so I'm learning to monologue less. So here's the key points. Came to America in the early 80s. I'm a lot older than a lot of people in Web3. English is my second language. it got excited with popular culture here in America. Was always doing something, like I used to sing or break dance or beatbox, and so I followed this little passion, this thing called hip hop, and started this little rap group in the '90s called Mixed Practice. We were battle rapping on Telegraph Avenue in Berkeley, California, doing that thing. So that opened me up to understand about like the culture of hip hop, right? Like this crew of people on the weekends. We go do these shows and go to school and you're a regular student. Aside from that, I also started working in the music industry at a young age. I'll say probably my junior year in high school. Met a guy named Bobby Torres who had a company called Surratt Marketing. Also met a guy named Sway from MTV who became kind of like a big brother. And from these two guys, they got me involved working actually like for the labels. So Loud Records, Big Beat Records, all these little labels that wanted representation in Northern California. I became their street promoter or their rep in the region. So that gave me access to things that were non-civilian for a kid, right? African American, or you want to just call me directly Zimbabwean kid, working with marketing guys and record reps from these big labels in high school is an unfair advantage for my peers. So that got me to the point when I graduated. My mom was like, "What the fuck you gonna do with your life?" And my mom wanted me to be a lawyer, right? Like I'm from Zimbabwe, third world country. You gotta be a doctor, lawyer, nothing
Immigrant
creative.
parents, man.
Yeah, you gotta pay the bills. Unfortunately, being that I'm the first of four, they didn't really prepare for me. So when I went to Academy Art College, I had a scholarship, but when part of the scholarship didn't come in and they needed supplemental income, I didn't have it. So they told me to leave school, so I could never finish pursuing my love for drawing and filmmaking. But I learned how to make films and all that shit in high school because we had a TV station for 4 years. So basically, I'm a kid or a person who was brought up in media and culture, heavy media and culture. I understand television. I understand still photography. I understand like I know how to sew. It's weird. Like there's so many things that a one person shouldn't know.
Sewing is a lost art, but that's immigrant parents as well.
Yo, you know what I'm saying? You got holes in your pants, boy. You better go put those patches yourself. So and just to kind of summarize it, so I got here because of that, started out this thing, and then from all of that, I built on top of that marketing, lifestyle marketing. So I started doing the street promotions, turned into lifestyle marketing, turned into doing a lot of shit for Fortune 500 companies. After I got tired with that, became entrepreneurial, tried my hand at a lot of different things, launched makeup company, owned a hair salon, some other shit. Web3 was an opportunity for me to come back here and do all the dope shit that I fucking learned in my life. I feel like this is the place where my range of experiences are best served. So I stumbled here just like you guys, wanted to buy a Lamborghini and go to Valhalla, lost the map to Valhalla. Lamborghini dealership said they ain't selling no more. So I'm here with you guys trying to figure this out.
Yeah. They're selling that map on like the corner of Sunset and Doheny as like a star map right now. And it's expensive.
It says Web3.
There's a TMZ tour to Valhalla now.
There probably really is though when you say that, because TMZ they'll pull up to your house, to your grave site. Like this is the grave site of this famous artist, and people are taking pictures of the grave site.
Yeah, no, for real. That is all super dope and all super interesting. I guess, yeah, no, I'm not gonna go through my origin story. But I relate to immigrant parents because I have at least one. And I actually love that I know how to sew. But in terms of being a creator or even considering yourself a creator, because this morning we went through it and one of our guests was like, I don't even really consider myself a creator, but like creator in the broad spectrum has a lot encapsulates a lot. But in terms of being a creator, when was like, describe that time that you were like, oh man, I'm doing something, I'm creating something here. This is pretty cool. Matt.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you ask. 'Cause, like, I'm not really a creative, like, in the traditional sense, right? Like, I have a lot of ideas, right, naturally. But I think like the most sensitive thing is working with creatives is something I've done for years now, and I think it takes a specific trait of character to be able to do that in a delicate way with people, because you're talking about people's babies, right? Like for instance, NFT project around the Lonely Listeners Club, that's my baby. So I could only imagine how musicians or artists feel when they're creating something and they're bringing that to the public or to the masses and want to present it a certain way. It's really interesting to see kind of the different approaches or different mindsets of these different artists that I've worked with. And I think there's just like a lot that goes into it that sometimes people don't see on face value. I think that's the beautiful thing about art, is that it can be subjective. A lot of the artists that I work with, maybe present themselves a certain way because they kind of have to play the game of the music industry. But really their core fundamentals and beliefs are completely different than what you'd see on the outside looking in. And there's subtleties and undertones to what they create. I think, that's just how things kind of get studied and people learn. And I think creative work is a great learning mechanism, whether it's on the art side or the music side. And yeah, just a deep love for it, deep passion.
Nice. And I mean, like you said, guys, I don't know that I said this, but this is the second roundtable, and it is the first roundtable that we basically have 3 founder creators. CrayHans, not a founder of a project necessarily. Would you call the CrayHan DAO a project? CrayHan?
So not a sub DAO, because it's not a DAO.
Yeah.
It's a sub brand.
Sub-brand.
The
Okay.
DAOO stands for Degen Artists Organized on Chain.
Okay.
A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah.
But it is very centralized. It's not a DAO. It's my way or the highway. And quite frankly, it's kind of just like imagine it being like a study group where a bunch of artists and collectors kind of come together. They talk about blockchain and Web3. They create art. They collaborate. In its form, it's going to be a gig marketplace. And I don't know how many details I really want to share, because not much of it.
You don't have to share.
Okay, but
share what you're comfortable with.
I will say that it will gamify artists, creators, collectors. It'll gamify everybody who jumps on the platform as some sort of player on the Raindrop protocol, and you'll be able to like level up, track your growth in like Web3. You'll be able to take on gigs and quests and interact with one another. But that stuff is all very much in development. Like a lot of people have been like really jumping on doing digital identity projects without waiting for stuff like ZK knowledge and like zero knowledge transactions. Like obviously it would suck to have a gig marketplace where everything's on chain and you can just intercept ideas and beat somebody to something faster, right? So a lot of the things that I'm trying to do are kind of like waiting on technological advancements on Solana. You know what I mean? This explains one of my fascinations with Token 22 standard. That's still an audit. Don't ape into any tokens or anything like that. But one of the things that they'll be doing is soul-bound tokens. And I'm fascinated by those because you can't trade them. If you can't trade them, you can't speculate on them. So it's literally what it is. And if you price it at what it is, it's priced at that. And you can actually have a business that's just honest and based on transactions at that point.
Nice. So, I mean, what I'm hearing is that you are a founder.
Yeah.
So I was correct in there. We have 3 creator founders.
Really just more of an experimenter. And I need people to understand that, because like I think that this entire space is just so experimental that really putting your entire livelihood in this space right now is just a risk. And so like anybody who joins CrayHan DAO, they understand like, this could go well or this could go bad, but we're not going to try and spend much money on it. That's why we use Solana, right? I definitely would hate to be trying to like do the experiments I'm doing and be using Ethereum and then paying gas fees just to feel like, okay, this may not work. maybe this doesn't have product market fit, or, maybe it isn't a good business model. We'll figure all that stuff out without spending much money, without ruining a brand that I create on my own reputation. We'll do it within a sub brand inside of a brand that's already building, that has developers that everybody in the space already knows and trusts. And honestly, I have like really, really good support from those guys, as far as like, it's almost like a big brother is like looking over my shoulder, like, yeah, that looks stupid, that looks dumb, yeah, maybe that's kind of cool, and in that way, I kind of don't feel like I'm a project founder. I just kind of feel like, I'm a participant, like a market participant that's really active. That's it.
Nice. Okay, so back to props. When was the moment that you thought like, oh my God, I'm onto something, I'm creating something here?
Well, I think when I decided to create a project, right? Like when I started in 2021, like before then, I was just like participating as supporting friends, copying shit, looking, and then it was like that early, the November of 2021, sitting with a friend of mine. He's an author with Simon and Schuster Books, and we were looking at IP and looking at like how far BAYC had like all the shit they created out of nowhere. They were, a billion-dollar company. So we started talking about, look, we need to do something that's dope for our kids. Because first we got daughters. My whole role as a girl dad, you got to be cool. If you're not cool, your daughter's gonna be like, you're whack. You can't be a whack ass dad. You got to do some dope stuff. So we were like, yo, let's make something that's dope that we can show our daughters. And they're like, yo, this is fresh. So it wasn't until I decided to do the project, and then I realized my artist hat came back out, right? So it's like I wear different hats. Most of you guys see me as props, the guy out there who just talks like this, but there's different sides to me. Like on the creative side, like right now, you guys, what you see on my PFP, this is the new DAPS art. Like we got tired of people saying our shit looked like BAYC. So, we went back to the drawing board to create some new shit. So I realized this was a real thing when I started becoming real touchy about art. It took 6 months to create a character, and I'm actually I'm returning back to that place right now. Launching a project is different than creating art, right? It's almost kind of like one is fighting for survival and for your place in the marketplace, and the other is actually using the power of creation and make something dope. So I feel like I'm right back at that place. I'm not concerned right now. I'm not chasing anybody down. Like we did what we did. Now we're just moving forward. And this part is I'm back in the art. So yeah, I'm addicted to art. Like I said, I wear different hats, and depending on what I'm working with, I can get lost in the flow of things. So I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, absolutely. Matt,
yeah,
I know you don't consider yourself a creator, but consider that you create these guys like public identities, the public identities of these creatives, as well as you've created such a vibe in Lonely Listeners. I know we're not super active all the time, but I love coming in there. It's just so it's like coming home when I go in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. You know what? Again, like kind of circling back to the core community around like everything we do that we were kind of discussing before we went live here, but just since 2021 when we entered this space with just kind of like an idea, like, hey, like maybe we could raise some money for this artist. Like, let's just give it a shot. We've fostered like the coolest community of people that are constantly supporting my crazy ideas and decisions that kind of just come to fruition sometimes. And yeah, just couldn't be more thankful to have them around. And it is interesting, like with artists, and I guess like building that identity for them in a sense, like, the hardest part is understanding, like a musician, I find, is like being able to kind of understand them inside and out, right? You can listen to their music so much, you can study their interviews, like, artists, I'm not going to mention their name, that I'm frequently been working with, and like, studying him like crazy because he has a lot of interview content, listening to a lot of his music, and then talking to him and learning that like there's so much more that he wants to tell with his story. And I'm just like always learning more things and it's more that I can help support them. So, I know that he just signed like a pretty big distribution deal, and like now it's the matter of like, where do we want to go from here? How are we going to help prop you up to tell this story, and also, play the politics of the industry. So it's I wear a lot of hats and I juggle a lot of roles, but it's interesting to say the least. And I feel like I'm always learning, which is never a bad thing.
Nice. So I guess my next question is, what are the challenges that you faced in this creator journey? What would you say? Matt, I think you want to start.
I'll pass the buck to someone else if they want to answer
that. Okay, props.
You say what's
what are the challenges? What are some
again?
of the challenges that you faced in being a creator?
Okay, so we're just gonna stay in the present right now. I'll say my challenges is that's interesting. I'll say my challenges are that I face. Some of them come from how I interpret or experience Web3. Right, Web3 is like it's a different place where it's, how can I explain it? Like, just because, like, so in Web2, I feel like I'm dope as fuck. I've done a lot of dope shit. Friends and circles, either friends or athletes, own brands. Like, everybody has something. There's like nobody that doesn't do anything, and done a lot of dope shit, and it's easy to do dope shit. This space is a little bit different, right? It's almost like the challenge, I guess, is reading the meta, if you want to look at that, because I come from a place of not reading meta. Like, I believe when you create what you want to create, and you put your shit into that, and that becomes the meta, right? Like, you ride your movement until the movement becomes obvious to everybody else. But I guess I'll say the toughest thing is, I guess, understanding degens in this space. It's just hard. I feel like I've been a couple minutes behind, right? Like if I had launched maybe my project a year earlier, we'll be in a different situation. But then during that time, I was trying to catch up to something else because I had just learned something else. So I guess the most difficult thing I can say, just to sum it up in this space, is reading the writing on the wall in the room, learning from it, and executing faster. Within the time, I'll say is one of my challenges that I faced.
Okay, got it. Cray?
Oh yeah, man. Okay, so all right, as like a traditional artist, the first challenge I ever faced was people who were digital artists making more money than something that I could pay for, like, so I could charge maybe $5,000 for a hand-drawn piece, and I was seeing digital artists making $125,000 off of, you know what I'm saying? Now challenges are kind of like, and by the way, you never get caught into like price comparison traps and all that kind of stuff, but it is very, I've seen people try to make the physical thing work in this space and get completely rejected and denied, which is odd to me, because it seems like you would want that physical, tangible thing to like be attached to a digital asset and have that combined thing be the product, right? But that, I feel like I haven't seen many people do that, to be honest. And so, kind of moving on from that, I just decided, okay, well, let me try doing some digital art and see if that'll get me some. And I recognize that the digital artists they have a higher throughput as far as like output, right? So they get more clicks, they get more reactions, they get more likes, they can build follow. The sales, you sort of realize that's all just a small percentage of like how many reactions or I guess impressions or views that you get on all of your social medias combined. And you start to like really start to work on the social media thing far more than you work on the art. I think that's like a early on, like something that artists find themselves struggling with, is like, when do I sit down to draw? I gotta like show up for the space and do this, that, and the other,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, like you could sit in the room and just draw, and you'll never get any attention, and you'll never sell anything, right? And so it is this kind of balance that you have to learn between marketing yourself and actually creating. And I think those are like early on the biggest problems. Now I think that the problem is going to be just in the same way that digital art uh, almost lapped traditional art because of the amount that you can put out of it. It seems like AI is going to lap digital art too, and so now it just seems as if uh, the only thing that we really could do moving forward is try to put more emphasis on work that took more time and effort and that had like a human touch. And so Crayon DAO at the end of the day, it being a gig marketplace, is supposed to be a place where we prove our process. And our process makes us human. And we're just placing a bet on the fact that in the future people will want to pay more for human work than AI work. And that's just kind of going to be the niche that we find ourselves in, is where we're uniquely human and we prove that process in our work. Like that's kind of my whole thing.
It's wild. Well, first of all, were you the one who told me that AI art can't be copywritten?
I don't think I would have given you anything like that.
No, I think
I'm not a
somebody
copycat
did.
lawyer.
I thought it was you
Yeah.
in the space. No, somebody came in with that.
Yeah,
that-
I'm not ready to jump to
Yeah.
any conclusions on
Yeah,
that.
no.
Also, the
No.
scariest
It
thing I
was
saw
a
was-
law. It was a law thing. It actually came down from court. Somebody told me that. I'd have to look it up again and make sure. But I thought that.
Yeah, I heard something
Yeah,
similar.
music
I heard
side.
something similar to the fact
Huh?
that it's because it's from AI. It's a combination of like you don't anybody. This I heard this yesterday in a space, and it might have been from Alex. Alex is big in SEC, like NFT shit. But the conversation was if you use AI for any generative work or any art, being that the AI is like by something else, you don't 100% own the copyright of the shit you're creating.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey,
I would believe whoever
sorry
generated
to
the image
interrupt.
owns it.
Thank you, Mental. Mental just gave a donation to the show. Thank you. That's my first donation. So thank you so much.
Let's go. Euros,
Euros,
too. God,
exactly.
let's go.
Big money.
Dropping euros out here,
International.
man.
Guys. Yes, sorry for interrupting, but I had to give him props.
No,
for
bullish on that Euro stable coin too. Like, come on, that's bullish news.
Okay, so I'm going to pivot, and Carlos had a question for you guys. How do you envision the impact of your project on the intended audience? This question is for all. I am going to go with props.
So I could say that's a tricky question. What I'll say is, like, so my project when we launched, I took my first public L. I call it a public L. We launched on a day where it was the lowest liquidity ever in the history of Solana, and we just didn't raise what we wanted to do. And we've been moving a little bit slower, but what they can envision is like what they see from me and how I move with like DAPS radio and just in the space. I'm the master of pivoter. I can pivot until pivoting is not even called pivoting again, and then I'll do that shit. So they can expect what we said we're going to do. I mean, we didn't have the resources, but that hasn't stopped us from, working on the art, getting the art ready. We're digging deeper into what we do on the art side and just being a little bit more quiet. Like I'm a big fan in this space now, more of surprising and over delivering than promising and then coming up short. So I think my audience can just expect us to just do some dope stuff, and it's going to be under promise and over delivered, and they're going to expect some dope art and just some other surprises around the ways. But they can expect me to work like I've been working since I got here, and that's been giving it 100% and trying to keeping it exciting and innovative.
Nice. Matt.
Yeah, definitely relate prop in the sense of like minting on a really, really low volume day. Yeah, last summer we minted. It was, it was a weird one. It was messy, super low volume, but we pushed through. You know what I mean? We rallied together. But yeah, I mean, like ideally, the overall goal, and it's always been the same since day one, is just to leave some level of impact on the music industry. And we've had to pivot, quite a few times in the process to do that. Initially we wanted to create this creators marketplace for fractionalized ownership in songs, and the legal gray area, and that was just insane. So we pivoted, built this artist accelerator program, and then we have Listen and IO and a couple other things we're working on, and all these things come together with all the same common purpose of just having better options for musicians. And we want to be looked at as the brand that always delivers on that, no matter what aspect of business we're working on, no matter what creative project we're working on. That's the core fundamental, and that's what pushes us forward.
Nice. CrayHans.
Yeah, so as far as Crayon Down goes, if everything works the way I want it to, I think collectors should get more authenticated work. I think that artists should make more because they're proving that they're human. And I think that this is all just a very crazy bet on, people valuing human effort over AI art when it comes to people who purchase art. And I think that that's just a very small niche kind of group, so I'm targeting a very small audience. But I think that it'll help them sift through bots and AI and get to what they want. Or, like there's people who use AI who want to show you like, hey, I've done like 5 to 6 hours worth of process work after I generated this image, are you guys going to respect any of that? And so I think that we'll have more conversations about like art and AI and kind of like how those things intersect. And yeah, if we have the conversation and at some point along the line we just start to value human art for it being made by a human, then I think it's a success. If at the end of the day you use art to make money and it's going to be about how much you can make, how fast, and nobody cares, then it's just going to be a flop. So, and everybody who rides with me kind of understands what they're betting on. But I haven't minted anything. I've attached my project to a very, very cheap OG Solana project for a reason. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. And we won't be token gating forever. When this thing's done, it's ready to go. It's meant to be used for everyone. Because it's just all about proof of process.
Nice.
Well,
I have a couple of controversial or albeit hot takes. First of all, I am a pretty staunch anti-AI person. I know it's coming, and Fiddler's beating me down into submission on the fact that it's coming, and I always knew that medical AI was far and away the best way to go. But in terms of coming from an artist background, I find it like kind of horrifying for all the reasons you're talking about. And one of the things that like Web3 and NFTs in particular was created for in the first place was like artist provenance. And it was going to solve a huge problem. And it looks like, through this, AI is creating another problem with the provenance. So that, yeah. And I come from a huge family where there's art on every single wall in my house. And some that I have 3 pieces sitting on the desk next to me. If you could see it, because somebody's bought me a piece, somebody sent a gift in the mail, and it's all art. So like we have a very big appreciation for physical art and human artists in my family. So yeah, and I just think the question that was asked before, where it's like, I'm sorry, I have to just refer back to it. It was about what do you think the intended audience? How do you envision the impact of your project on the intended audience? I personally, as an artist, don't even think about the audience because I'm creating to create, and the audience will find me or find the art if they want it. So that's my hot take on that. Because if you sat there and created for an intended audience, you'd be creating mid art a lot of the time, because a lot of people just have mid taste, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Respectfully.
Don't get me started on the crypto raps and music, because I'll go off on a tangent, to be honest. So I'll leave that one alone.
Yeah, no, we'll leave that one alone for today. We'll do it in part 2 someday. But Carlos had another question. Secondly, there are potential risks associated with the project. I guess with each project, how do you guys plan to mitigate them? Carlos, do you mind? Is this a financial risk you're talking about, or is this some other risk? Would you mind just letting me know? Because I feel like we need to qualify this a little bit. What?
I was gonna say, can I hop on that? Because as a founder, I don't know any founder. The last week's mind's been like, okay, with the whole, NFT project, getting sued in Los Angeles and all that stuff. I mean, I think, and I wanted more clarity on Carlos on the question, like VPIF asked. But just from what you put right there, what I can say is that we're not going to do anything illegal, right? My project's a little bit unique. One part of it is a social club. It's a club. It's a card that gives you access to this club, and this club is dope people doing dope stuff, and there's ways for them to earn art, right? So one is an art project that has no roadmap, no utility, nothing. That's the PFP that you see right now. And at the end of the day, I just think until the language gets extremely clear for us, and I'm assuming potential risks it has to do with SEC regulations. Until the language is going to be extremely clear, I think the best thing anyone can do is to pivot and to talk to legal and just make sure you're not doing anything that's kind of like in that area, right? So we don't share any royalties with anybody. We don't airdrop any money to anybody. Like we're just a car. What do you call it? We're a club. We're a social club, and we're working on art projects to share this art with our collectors and community. So we're just going to stay compliant as long as we have jurisdiction in the United States. But we do plan on opening up offices and setting up headquarters in other parts of the world as we expand other different projects into Web3.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. So Carlos qualified with financial risks. I know CrayHans is not about that financial risk life. He's very risk averse.
I love this question, and I can tell you guys like how I feel like I've avoided almost all of it, right? So I don't have an NFT. I'm not selling an NFT. I'm not really selling a promise. I've created a community. All we do is we talk about art, we create and collaborate, right? So there's a real exchange of like a service anytime that there is an exchange of money, right? And that's all going to be negotiated on your own. At some point, there'll be an application with smart contracts that does all that stuff for you, right? But right now, it's just kind of like word of mouth. Like, hey, I need an artist to do this. Okay, cool. We'll set you guys up. You guys handle all that stuff, right? But I'll pay you guys Rain token to do that. The thing I love about Rain token is it's pretty fucking legal, right? Because it was created by a DAO. They don't market this token. They don't tell anybody that this token is going to go up in value, and it has an actual utility. One Rain token equals one player NFT on Raindrop Protocol, or it equals one item NFT or SFT. And basically what that kind of means is you can take an NFT that's like static and you can turn it into a dynamic NFT that has like metadata that changes, updates, and evolves, right? So trait swapping is one thing you can do. Another thing you can do, you can create these packs, all that good stuff, right? So Rain has an use to it. It was created by a DAO. I'm not the guy that holds the update authority for that token. You know what I mean? I can give it out because people who I talk to value it because they're creators and they want to create dynamic NFTs on Solana, right? So all of that is just a closed loop, and it's very safe, and it's not. I mean, we could have that conversation with Gary Gensler when he wants to. You know what I mean? But I think it would be GG's for me. That's where I'm at with that.
Yeah.
I like how you just made sure you're Gucci. You're like, I don't know about y'all.
Well, I mean, it's like, listen, dude, I haven't raised money, so I submitted a proposal to the Rain DAO, and I was granted money. right? But I haven't sold that into US dollars, so there's no taxable transaction. There's no, like I've just done everything so like fucking by the book, and I listen, and I don't jump into anything. I don't leap until I'm ready, especially whenever we're talking about people's money. You know what I mean? I haven't taken anybody's money. So, and if I do token gating, it's going to be with an asset that was already created by somebody else. And eventually I'm going to token gate it. Everybody just be stuck to this 10,000 users. I want millions of users, right? And I think more project founders should be thinking about their project as if it's an application that can scale, right? I love exclusivity, but exclusivity, you just had like, I think sometimes the perks are so expensive to sustain exclusivity that like I could care less about it. I'd rather have $1 from a million people than charge 100,000 people $100. So that's kind of where I'm at.
I hear you. Matt, how do you mitigate potential risks associated with your project?
Yeah, I mean, I think especially because of the initial rollout of the Lonely Listeners Club, it was really interesting because essentially what we were building was a music rights marketplace, right? And with that, there's a lot of gray area that we kind of like expected for and planned for, and we had solutions for. However, when it comes to the scale of this specific niche market, if you look at platforms that are comparative to what we were going for, like Royal, or there's a few others, but Royal is kind of the big one. They kind of have the biggest market share. There was a huge potential risk for us to move forward on that product. So, we decided to pivot. And I think that's like one of the benefits to us having a slow mint when we launched last year, is that we had expectations very clearly laid out. We weren't dependent on a massive hype cycle, even though we were like a pretty hyped mint. And allowed us to just like get closer to our community and allow them to understand kind of like, what the alternatives were if we didn't hit our raise target to build this platform. And since then, we've been very, very lucky to be able to continue to build other products that still tie into, again, kind of that core mission that we're accomplishing. So, I think like crypto Web3 in general, like anywhere you go, there's going to be some level of risk. I think like from a perspective of like a holder or somebody looking to buy an NFT, it's a little bit more different, right? Like I don't buy an NFT without like my personal like risk management strategy is knowing that my money's gone as soon as I buy it. But that's me. But that's because I've been rugged like 50 times, right? As where another person might only buy in if they really, really believe in the core value, as where somewhere else might buy in if they really think they're going to make money off it. So, you got different buyers everywhere. There's different products we offer that appeal to different buyers. There's different things that we're building that appeal to different people, but it's, it's kind of a byproduct of what we're doing on the bigger scale. At the end of the day, like the Lonely Listeners Club for us is the ability to be able to test products with our community before we bring them to market. It's to be able to give them perks like sending them to shows, like live concerts, for covering media for us and stuff like that. Just little things that we can do for them supporting us. And I think it's just kind of a give and take like that. Just like you would if you're scaling any type of brand, right? Your people that are going to be following you on socials are definitely going to be more supportive of you than like someone that just watches your YouTube channel versus like, checks your Instagram stories. So just kind of like, we kind of plan for any kind of turns that might come up, but fortunately nobody's vested to the degree where it's going to impact them in any sort of way. Like our floor price, I think, is like $3. So like it's nothing too impactful. Yeah.
Got you. So whenever you want to get me tickets to Bjork this fall, I'm here.
Let me know
I'm
the
open.
location. Let me know. Actually, this
I'm
might be a
open.
good opportunity to present the ambassador program we're starting, which is essentially allows our community members to get sent out to these concerts. So amongst other perks with the shows, but we can talk about that in a
definitely
less public
because
setting.
I've seen almost everybody. I've been very lucky and seen almost everybody I ever wanted to see in life, but Bjork I keep on missing her.
Legend. She's a legend.
Yeah.
Undeniable. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, I guess so we talked about kind of the challenges. I wanted to talk about like what is one of the most fulfilling moments you've had as a creator. I am going to start with Cray on this one.
Ooh, okay. Okay, I guess it would have to be the first oil painting that I actually kind of completed. It took me almost 2 years off and on. I never played around with paint too much. I honestly was pretty intimidated by the medium, and I kind of just stuck to color pencils. That's kind of still where my comfort zone lies. Um, but then actually here, let me go grab this thing.
I love that it's show and tell with Cray. I really do.
Yeah, that boy pulled out that one piece he pulled out was like, wow, that's like that's from the
Yeah.
Louvre.
Oh my, oh my God.
Wow.
So
Oof.
Sheesh.
I did this in oil
Damn.
paint. This is on wood.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
Sick.
The detail on that is incredible.
that one was rewarding because it was the first time I did like a medium that I wasn't used to, and yeah, just that's always like a scary thing. Like I think jumping into NFTs
Yeah.
was scary as well, you know.
Yeah.
But for me as a creator, it made sense because it's all about, for me, it's about state preservation, and it's about immutability, and it's about, you know, just you can't censor what is backed up by all these nodes. You know, it's decentralized, and I love that part, and I love open source stuff. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah. I will say that you're a brave person to work with oil. I never adulted to oil. I've always stuck with like, I did a little bit of watercolor, but like acrylic is my jam.
It's the cleanup, to be honest. You know, you probably don't even want to like attempt if it's like 4 hours to sit down and like really work.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
then you got to clean up, and if you don't clean up,
Yeah.
you're gonna be buying supplies constantly, and it becomes very expensive.
Yeah, my grandfather was an oil painter, and it was just, and he actually did a lot of texture with oil, which I never understood how he did that. But yeah, watching him like clean up, just set up, clean up all of it, and just do it for a few hours a day, it was like, it was heavy lifting, man.
Those rituals make or break you, honestly, as an artist. And I have to say, like, I'm great about my rituals when it comes to cleaning after I create. So, and I've never had the amount of space. Like, if I just had like a studio, I could just trash up one day.
Yeah.
Yeah, we might see a lot of stuff coming from me. But
Yeah.
I'm just such a fucking neat freak. I'm like, I'm not gonna take out the paint.
Yeah. And my dad, my grandfather, not my dad, my grandfather was a pediatric surgeon. So this was his retirement gig, like painting. So I guess that was, for him, that was like his wheelhouse, right? Because he'd have to clean up after every surgery. And he was an impeccable neat freak because of his profession. So it was actually probably the best like transition, like retirement hobby.
You see it in military men, like how they fold their clothes and stuff. They'll tell you like that it like they could never start their day without folding their clothes that way. You know, I just have been. I'm like the exact opposite guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so Matt, what is one of the most fulfilling moments in this journey that you've had?
It was definitely like the very first kind of dipping our toes into the pond of Web3. In 2021, we launched a collection for an artist named J Minus, alternative pop artist that I was working with pretty closely at the time. And we just kind of entered this ecosystem with no crypto background, no NFT background, just said, screw it, let's go for it. We were trying to raise $30,000 for him. And, you know, pretty tough thing to do, even though we were a bit in the peak of the bull market and there were music NFTs. Nobody like cared about them. Made a TikTok. That TikTok went kind of viral, and we were lucky enough to sell out and provide him with some funding and kind of help him move forward. And then we threw together this video called Payday, which featured a bunch of other like OG Solana communities, which a bunch of them have rugged by now, but it was still really, really cool in the moment. At the time, like that was peak height for me. We had all of our OG team members. A lot of them have gone back to their regular careers in Web 2. But you know, that was fun. Things were simple, easy, pre-bear market, you know, pre-drama. Yeah, it was a fun time in the ecosystem. That was definitely the most fulfilling, is just being able to deliver on that and, you know, come up with 30K for an artist out of thin air, and then also have 200 new fans for him to now support his music. It was just an experience.
Nice.
That is
Nice.
the beauty of it.
It is.
Absolutely, man. Mm-hmm.
Like during a bull market, like it's just everything's just going so
Yeah.
well. I wish that we
man.
could sustain that longer and maybe like not crash so far. Like when this thing isn't volatile and there's real jobs that are being created, and the USD stays in the space, it's stickier. Like you guys will start to see. I think that this is a great place for artists.
Agreed.
Absolutely. Props. What would you say is your most fulfilling moment so far?
My fulfilling moment is unexpected people sharing how what I've created, have done, affects them, or what they benefited from. You know, it started randomly. People sending me DMs like, "Yo, I like what you do on the podcast, whatever you want to call it, Daps Radio." A lot of people first were in DMs and then on the timeline, and then when we started, like my whole movement, like kind of like when I'm, you know, you say this early, when you create for yourself. So when I'm doing something, I don't do something to see how people perceive it. I just do what I'm doing. You get what I'm saying? So when you put your head up, and then like I had a space right after we minted, and then we were talking, and then somebody came up on stage and was like, "Yo, my name is this. I've been Ute listed. I've been dapped. And I was like, wow, right? It's like how other people like experience or interact with the thing that you help create, to me is kind of like my thing. So I look for those little nuances of the team members who change their PFPs, or community members, or, you know, so yeah. So I guess it's when I observe like what was created and how people are like interacting with it, that's like bugs me out.
Yeah. I mean, I would say, as somebody who doesn't consider herself a creator, but is actually creating stuff somewhere along the line, the most fulfilling for me is like people reaching out to me and telling me like, you know, your space made a difference to my life. And I'm just like, I'm just some chick on the internet talking garbage every Monday and Friday, you guys, what? But like, you know, people have reached out to me and said like they were in a dark place and just listening helped, and, you know, having a safe space to go to. I used to be 6 days a week, just having that morning ritual of, you know, because I went from not knowing what I was doing to kind of being like, all right, cool. I'm just like drive time radio on a Monday and Friday for people. And, you know, I would totally go up to maybe 3 times a week. I don't think I'd ever do 5 days a week or 6 days a week again. That was a little nuts, but I would totally do 3 days a week again at some point. But yeah, I mean, when it was busier, like 6 days a week made sense, and we really had a good time. But yeah, we are almost out of time. In fact, we're going, a little bit, maybe a tiny bit over, but I want to close out with this question from Carlos. I have like 7 more questions, so we will have to have a part 2. Bittler always says this to people, and I'm like, man, why can't we just get through the questions? And it's a lot harder than it seems. So props to Bittler for sometimes getting through the questions. But how do you stay motivated and inspired to create, especially during times of creative block? Because creative blocks do occur sometimes. I'm going to start with Matt on this one.
Yeah, I mean, like, again, like creative for me is a little bit different, but like for me, it's just I find ideas, or anytime there's like inspiration to do something, kind of like have to act on it in the moment, or at least put it down on paper or whatever, that might be. And like I have creative blocks. Like I have times where like I am sitting at my desk at my computer, unable to move forward or progress on anything. And like that's okay. It's totally fine. You could just unplug yourself or go do something else, get your mind out of that creative space, and then you never know when like something could just inspire you. So I think like I've never experienced like a prolonged creative block, so I don't know how much I could speak to it to that extent, but at least that's just kind of how I operate day to day.
Gotcha. Crayons.
Yeah, so I think of problems as if they're like jigsaw puzzles, right? And so sometimes you're working on the corners first, right? You start with a corner piece and you start branching out from the sides of it. Um, Eventually, you kind of hit a block, but you still have three other corner pieces that you can kind of like start working on, right? And you can branch those out, and eventually you start to see how, okay, there's just a few more side pieces, and then now you got the entire frame of the picture, right? And then, like, honestly, when you get creative block, honestly, just go to another corner of the problem, right? And as long as you don't stop working on the problem, because like a lot of times we do want to just walk away and go do something else. I am like a really big fan of like just actually just sitting through it and pushing yourself through it. I don't do it every time. I get distracted easily, but whenever I have like that actual creative spark and I'm actually like, okay, dang, like I'm in flow, I have to continue working. If I get out of flow, I'll never find that again. And so just recognizing like when your flow moments are, and probably scheduling the time that you're actually doing like a creative task for those times, instead of um, you know, sometimes like your most productive time of day is 10 a.m. That's not when you should be on a space, right? That's probably when you should have been like probably having the coffee and playing the lo-fi music or whatever, getting into the mindset. So at 10 a.m. you've drawn for 20 minutes, right? You're already warmed up, and now you're kind of like you're in flow state right at 10 a.m. right? And so recognizing that about yourself is probably the biggest thing.
Totally. Props.
I'm gonna use a word that the homie just used, is a flow state. For me, again, I wear different hats. It's I can't create at the same time. Like I use my brain, the left and right brain. Sometimes I can use both sides of my brain, but when I get in a funk or things are not happening right, I gotta leave the shit. I gotta like step away. I gotta go hiking, hit the mountains, try to get mindful. And whatever problem I'm trying to solve, like stop that problem solving, because it's too much of my prefrontal cortex is trying to figure this shit out. And I need to kind of rely on the universe and my other side of how things happen, right? So it's the flow state for me. Like if I'm doing too much thinking and I'm looking around, that's not the best place in time for me to create. So I do more like regular shit, like talk to people or like those things. But when I create, it's like it's almost kind of like I'm in this cocoon, right? Like I can get in this zone where nobody matters and time doesn't exist, and just the thing is happening. And so when I fall out of that, I have to reset, and reset again is being mindful, a little meditation, and learning to say, I'm not working. This is pure fuck off time. There's nothing going on except this time is going to be just playtime. And I'm learning to do that. Almost have an addiction to not stopping. You know what I'm saying? So trying to be in that nuance of the world and trying to stay in the flow state as much as possible.
Called chrysalis, by the way, and that's also how diamonds are, and how
That's dope. That's dope, man. Well, shit. Let's go.
Oh yeah, man.
I'm bullish on CrayDAO.
Yeah,
learning shit every day.
Yeah, I have a crayon shiv. I don't use it, but I have one.
I haven't given people much reason to use anything yet.
Yeah, well, that's fine. I got it.
Have you seen the app though? Have you seen like the design?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. remember that I've been in my own sort of
No,
bubble
I'm still gonna just
up
send you
until
that because
recently.
that was like months and months and months of
Yeah.
work of
Yeah.
my
No, you
own UI
definitely
UX design and stuff.
definitely send me that.
Yeah.
I would like to say that my best, like, I definitely have a flow state, but the best flow state, like the best thing to induce my flow state, if I'm uh having a block, is the New York subway. It's a hard thing to access sometimes when you're in LA or Europe or whatever, or recreate, but like I've had the best like ideas and stories come to me, and just anything, or ideas for paintings or poetry or even songs, like on the New York subway. Like I don't know why, because it's not really the most
No, I can
inspiring
see that.
place out
That's
there.
like where you see so many people and things come together in that one small place because they're all going to go do something unique, but they all just need to be on this one train at this one time in this one moment for like just to get over there. And so you see the people with the cosplay on, you see the freaks in there, you see the drug dealers, you see like the hoes, you see everybody. Everybody is on the subway,
The
and you can
guy
get so
selling his
much
novel.
information. It's life consolidated into a car. It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. But that's one of Girk's in the chat. Oh no.
Oh God.
When feet. Okay, well, on that note, guys, do you have anything else you'd like to share with us before we say our goodbyes? I feel like this has been too short, but as I said, we will arrange a number two at some point. But is there anything you want to share, or you feel like you didn't get to say that we can share now?
Not really,
Well,
man. Just keep doing your thing, guys. Like, just keep working. Just keep at it. You know.
What's up? Just
Cool,
keep
cool.
creating.
Yeah,
and I,
exactly.
and I want to say
And
thank you. First, I want to say thank you, VPIF, for bringing us here on
thank you.
this reboot or the second version of this. This is dope. The second creator panel. The panel is dope. You know, I feel like you touched a lot of different parts of Web3. You know, with just all three of us here. And again, this was dope. Looking forward to more of these. These are dope because it's just outside of the traditional Web3 conversations, and I believe like these kind of conversations can help us like as founders like bond more and learn about each other and things like that. You know what I'm saying? So I've always been a big fan of CrayHans. He supported me on a lot of stuff that I've done. I'm even more bullish on him that he showed his paintings. You know what I'm saying? Like that's really really dope, bro. Like you've got a lot of dope work,
Thank you.
and you always under promise and over deliver. Matt, I'm looking forward to learning more about your community and what you're doing too, bro. Don't stop. And VPIF, again, I just wanted to say thank you. This has been a dope use of time today.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
definitely.
guys. Thank you. Okay, guys, thank you for joining us tonight. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to jump in the Discord if you're not already there. Decoders is one of the best places to be these days. You're still pre-mint, you're still early, you can still earn views. So hop on in, and see you next time. Bye.